Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring today's video.
Welcome back to On the Road with Iona, the first video of 2025. And I'm pleased to say that our friend Dan Grieve is back with us on the channel. And Dan, we're going to be talking today about winter short game technique.
It's definitely the winter.
It's definitely the winter.
But we've got a bright day, first for absolutely ages, so we've made the most of it. But the ground is sodden, it's very soft here.
Yeah.
And I think winter short game in particular is a great challenge for a lot of golfers.
Yeah, it definitely is. So in this video, we're going to be sharing some top tips from the best in the biz about how you can just make some little tweaks to your short game that's going to help you during the winter months, because we've still got a few of them left. Sadly. Just things you can do to improve your short game and make things a little bit easier during this time of year.
Okay,
yeah.
Right, so should we start with a very sort of basic chip shot, just this front pin.
Okay.
From a lie. I mean, what you get in the winter obviously is the grass stops growing, doesn't it? You know, there's no warmth. So people don't tend to like these really tight lies. It's soft as well, but this area, because we're a little bit raised, isn't absolutely sort of swamp-like. It's still got a little firmness, but it is soft and it's tight. So, you know, how do you get on with these shots? I mean, when you get faced with these lies?
Well, yeah, they're scary because, like you say, it's just it's the soddenness underneath, and I would worry about the fat shot.
The fat shot, yeah.
The fat shot.
Which I see all the time. Now, when you are chipping, I mean, any time of year really, but particularly when it is soft, it's all about really making sure that you control that low point of the swing. You've got to make sure you don't get the club working down into the ground too much. That's why people hit it heavy, and I'm sure people at home will recognise this sort of shot where it goes down and manage to just get the back of the ball. I'm not very good at hitting bad ones.
Clearly.
But if I'd have been a little bit earlier with that, you can see how the handle is moving downward, and I get that one. That's the same shot, but obviously I just hit that an inch before. That's the sort of thing that can very easily happen. You see these little curly divots here. And that's really where the golfer isn't controlling the depth of the arc through the shot. So there's a few ways you can go about playing this shot, really. I mean, if you want to play it with a bit of spin and hit it in lower, then obviously a lofted club is a good idea. So something like a 54 or a 56. Well, you've got a 54 there, haven't you? So we'll hit a few in a minute with that. And you know, you can play that back in the stance, because you are really looking to get ball first contact, obviously, when you're playing off soft tight lies. So I put a little bit of shaft lean in there, but it's very important that you don't go downward, which I think, like human nature, when you've got a wet lie, is to make sure you get that club on the ball. Like, get that on the ball and squeeze it. And you know, if you really time that well, like I did there, you know, you can still hit really good shots, but there's very little margin for error. So the key, if you are chipping with a lofted club, is just to make sure that you keep pivoting, you keep moving around. Left shoulder will rise a little bit. And without getting too technical, what then happens is you can have some shaft lean in, which is good to get the club on the back of the ball, but because you're moving this way, can you see how the butt of the grip here is working more upwards? Yeah. And that really just keeps the club basically on the ground for longer, and then you can just hit fairly safe shots with a lofted club.
I want to say thank you to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. AG1 is a health drink full of over 70 ingredients that help with things like immune health, which is so important, particularly at this time of year in the winter. It also helps with things like gut health, my hair, skin and nail strength, and most importantly, when I'm out here trying to practice my golf, it can help with mental clarity and focus. So thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the action.
Go to drinkag1.com/on the road with Iona, or scan the QR code to get a free bottle of vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase.
Kind of like that, and you get that nice strike. You see how the handle's gone this way?
Yeah.
And that's really the key. I think just understanding how the butt of the grip works. That's why I talk about different releases all the time and how you release the club rather than that temptation to go downwards. Does that make sense?
You do know what you're talking about, don't you, Dan?
Hopefully.
What I think is really interesting about that is when you're talking about short game, you know, if we've got viewers watching that are new to Dan's content, head across his channel and check it out, full of brilliant stuff. But you don't think about the butt of the club. You're thinking maybe about the club face, you're maybe thinking about your hands, your arms, but the last thing you're going to think about for many people is the butt of the club, and that is a bit of gold right there.
Yeah, no, so I think once people get awareness of how this club and how the grip and butter grip wants to swing, then that's really going to keep the club working on the ground in a much safer fashion, because the biggest fault I tend to see is this.
Yeah.
You know, where it goes down here, and then the knees have got to start going, of course, because we've lost height, you know,
Totally.
and that's why that happens. So that's one way to do it. If you want to hit a low one with spin, with loft, it's back with shaft lean, because you want to get that club on the ball, but make sure you're moving this way. So see you hit a few doing that.
All right.
Yeah?
Okay.
There's a few other ways we can talk about as well, but I think that's a nice one if you've got a tightish pin.
So it's thinking about the butt of the club, still just that nice rotation.
Yeah.
And I guess the magic will happen.
Yeah, so I'd play that ball sort of just inside your right heel. I think ball position is important to get awareness of here, with some forward lean. Because of the conditions, I wouldn't particularly teach this in the middle of summer where it's drier.
Yeah.
But I think for now, this is the way to go. All right, and then you kind of stock back swing if you like, which will just have a little bit of set, but not too much wrist. But the big thing here is, if you just watch this and that you don't go that way.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's tempting. I think mentally it's like, get that club on the ball.
Totally.
Right, but you want to feel like it's coming this way, the handle works up, and that's really how the left shoulder then works up and around, and you just keep the height. Just think about keeping the height there.
Okay.
Keep the club out the ground, really.
For those of you watching thinking she must have really cold ankles, I do have really cold ankles. This was a bad decision today. Yeah, wear the long socks or the waterproof trousers.
Yeah, no, I'm used to it. Right, here we go.
Okay.
So pretty good. I think you could have kept it a little bit higher there. That wasn't bad. You know, you'll think that's pretty good. I know that was okay, but I think there's...
It's all right.
Do you feel there's a little bit of dig there? There was a little bit of dig.
Yes.
I'm being really picky.
No, totally. I felt like it was a little bit savey.
Yeah.
Tiny bit savey.
Just think about this bit from there. Take it back again. Okay, so it's working nice and high with the handle, and that shoulder staying nice and high there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was lovely. That was really good.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Just feel like you're staying up this way and not driving down into it.
I'll hit another one. That felt really nice.
That was perfect.
It's a good feeling, kind of keeping the height.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of my release, if people are watching understand my release pattern, it's a one release. We're not going to a zero. A zero be where the club isn't releasing at all. Right, it's still releasing, but we're moving this way.
Yeah.
Okay, making sure it's not going down. Great for these tight lies.
I love that.
But a safer way as well, which you can do, which if you don't need to get the spin, maybe you're going to the back pin, which is a little bit further. For most golfers, I really wouldn't recommend doing this with a lofted club. You know, I would recommend going down to something like a 9-iron, which is just so much safer.
Shall I get one?
Yeah, let's hit some with the 9-iron.
I think that's a really good point, Dan, because so much about the short game is about the decision in the club. You know, deciding what's the situation, assessing the lie, and then pulling the right club out the bag, and not being, you know, especially in the UK, wherever you're watching around the world, if you're playing the winter, it's great to keep the ball low and not, you know, make things as simple as possible. Yeah, totally. And I think people ask me all the time, what shot should I play, what club should I use? And the answer is always, very simply, all depends. There is not one way to do it. But yeah, for that back pin, if I was going to start using my 56 or your 54 for that shot, I could do it, we could both do it, and probably quite consistently, but it's how many times out of 10 can you do it? And particularly if you're, you know, a higher handicapper, you know, when you start getting a lofted club and a longer swing in your hand, it's just harder again. I think, again, the instinct is because you're trying to add speed is to then start working the handle down this way too much. Yeah. Whereas when you've got a club like a 9-iron in your hand, you know you've got a stronger loft. You can stay a little bit taller, you can come in a little bit closer, get the handle up, and then just do your standard sort of what I call release one, chip and run. And it's very difficult to ever dig a 9-iron in. You see, it just clips through and runs out, and you can see the beauty about using something like a 9, it's not going to spin either. Totally. So it's going to want to run out, and obviously you can do it with an 8 or a 7 or, you know, whatever you want. But absolutely, it's such a good shot to have, and it doesn't. I think people often think, you know, to be a proper golfer, you got to get the wedge out, and actually, so many times on tour, you know, you see Shane Lowry pulling out a 9-iron. I mean, these even Bob McIntyre, these beautiful little handsy shots.
Yeah, and you'll see that all the time, obviously, in what you do.
Yeah. Is it the same feeling?
It's the same feeling, yeah. But you just, it's so much easier with this club as you'll just feel it'll naturally want to do it more. There you go, just running out. Look at that, even though the green, there we go.
Nice. I had to take it pretty close to that flag.
But yeah, and that's an interesting point about the that sort of spinning shot. That sort of low spinner with the loft it seems to be the shot that everybody wants, but really nobody needs. And I think you've got to get into that mentality. You've got to try and shoot your lowest score. It's not about, you don't get extra points for playing that low spinner.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're playing on real kind of tour conditions and you've got to skip one over a slope, that's definitely a shot.
Yeah.
But I would say that low flighted, really high spinning shot, I'd almost say it's a specialist shot. It's not something that most golfers really need.
Yeah, and if even the very best, you don't need it that often.
No,
yeah.
No. Spin's hard to predict.
One of the things I think is a great mentality when you're playing winter golf and you've missed the green, you've got yourself a chip. What I always like to think, Dan, is I like to give myself a chance at the putt. So I'm trying to just play like a solid shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like the worldie. It doesn't need to go to within 3 feet every time or in the hole even. It just needs to be like, give me a chance to hold a putt.
Yeah.
So even if it's 7 foot, 8 foot, I've still got a chance. But it's when you're not confident with the decision and you totally duff it, then you're pretty mad because you're like, well, now I've got a 25 foot.
Yeah, or you're chipping twice, which is the absolute killer, isn't
That's
it?
a disaster.
But I think that's great mentally to have that, because I think people put themselves under way too much pressure when they chip. Because I think they watch the TV and think you should get it within 3 feet every time.
Yeah.
And absolutely, if you can hit to 7, 8 feet, and if you can almost track your short game over a year and say, right, what's my average? How many shots did it take me to get my ball from there and into the hole? And if it averages under 3, like maybe say 2.8 for the season, that's like really good.
Yeah.
And I think so many golfers actually average probably over 3, as in they take 3 or 4 shots.
Yep.
To get the ball in the hole, and if you can take 2 or 3,
yeah,
hopefully 2 more often. But if you can take 3, it's not the end of the world, is it?
It's not the end of the world. And if you take 3 most of the time, but once in a while you take 2, well, that's great. And then you can start trying to take 2 most of the time, and once in a while take a wee bit less.
Oh, even 1. That's
one would be ideal.
Right, like this. So keep the height in the handle through the ball. Keep turning, nice and on the ground. There you go. So I think you could stand there literally all day and not miss one of those with that club. Yep. But you also understand how to do it with loft as well, should you need to.
Yeah, really nice.
Now, we've got a wetter area. We can sort of find an area where, it's quite muddy and a little bit soft.
Let's do that.
Because I think that's what people will be saying, well, this is quite nice. I normally play on much muddier conditions than that. Let's try and find some. It's tough at Woburn to find muddy areas, but we're going to do our best. Let's have a look.
Right, shot number 2. Let's be having it.
Right. We're in a runoff area here, and we found a sort of a bare, muddy patch. I mean, we're actually on the mud here. You can see how soft this is. Oof. It's literally sodden there.
Yeah.
And you've got to play to that close pin. So, I mean, this really is the stuff of nightmares, I think, for most golfers. If you don't need to get this in the air, I would not be recommending sand wedge or a lob wedge from this position, because you've just got to play a world-class shot. We can go through it if you want and I'll talk about it, but from here really the shot it's a hybrid or a putter.
Oh, right.
Or maybe a 7-iron, but it's so soft in there, you've got to almost get it on the ground straight away. So
okay.
I'd be using a hybrid there.
Oh, I like that.
Should we do that?
Yeah, definitely.
So, 4 hybrid I've got, and the beauty about the hybrid, it's got this lovely wide sole. I use a putting grip, and I literally just do a putting stroke and it just pops up. So don't need to be perfect with the strike here, you're just brushing it like a putt. Have you got a hybrid, yeah?
Yeah, I've got my
What loft have you got on yours?
21.
21, perfect. I think about 21, 22 is perfect with this shot. And then just make a little putt with it, and you can see how easy that shot is. It's down there to 3 or 4 feet.
That's awesome.
And and people say, well, that's not golf. You've got to use a sand wedge or whatever. But just doing that again, it's just a putting grip. I use a reverse overlap grip when I putt. Nice high handle, and just make a little putt. And there we go. I could do that literally 10 times out of 10.
It's brilliant.
And if I was trying to get 10 goes with my sand wedge there, I would probably hit a few into the bank. It's just inevitable how difficult it is from this lie.
Yeah.
Have a go at that. Is this a shot you use much?
It's not. But I'd love to. I'm going to give myself a real stinker of a lie.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant little shot, and I do see it on tour. You
You
see
do.
the guys doing this out there, and I think it's a shot I've been scared of because I'm worried it would come off like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, I think maybe it's one that's good to do a little bit of practice with to get a feel for it.
Yeah. But I think the reason it does come off like a bat out of hell for most golfers is they use their normal grip.
Okay.
And it just puts too much pop into it. So I think the key there is to get that nice high left wrist, that arch in there, putting grip, and then from there it's hard to get too wristy.
Okay, so I putt with the claw.
Well, try it with the claw.
Okay.
You've got to imagine you've got your putter in your hand now, right?
Okay.
Just make a putt stroke. There we go.
So good.
How safe is that?
That's amazing.
Yeah?
I just had to visually think I did have my putter
Yeah,
in my
you've got
hand.
to try and trick yourself.
That's amazing.
Would you, genuinely, if we were out playing now and you had the shot, what would you have done?
I probably would have used my pitching wedge and used this very last bit of this upslope.
Okay, yeah. And listen, you could have done that, but again, you'd have had to really manage the handle height, and you'd have had to hit that. If you'd have been 1 yard short, it would have barely got on the green.
It's high tower.
Yeah, you'd have had to be perfect. Yeah. There we go. Good.
What about, what if someone doesn't have a hybrid? Could they use a 5-wood?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think 5 was fine. Obviously the challenge with 5-wood is the shaft gets longer, so you'd have to get it a little bit more up and go down a bit more.
Where's the ball position?
Play it in the middle.
Okay.
Right in the middle.
So it's like a putt, really?
Yeah, and just hit a putt. Just a little firmer, okay? Just get the feel for it. There we go.
Really nice
Safe.
the way that comes
Just do one more. No, just that bank's taking a little bit more out of it than you think. So you're striking them perfectly.
Yeah.
You just need to just give it a slightly longer putt stroke. There we go.
Yes.
That's just feel, isn't it? A little bit of practice and then you get it. That's a great shot.
That's
There we
absolutely
go.
outrageous.
Inside mine.
I love that shot. That's a really good shot.
So just don't make life difficult.
Yeah.
I think is a big lesson there.
Yeah.
But do you want to see if we've got to hit one with an, let's say, there were some people watching and say, I won't use a hybrid, or I might not have a hybrid. Well, you can do what we've just done, try and get a mid-flight. So go with your lofty club here, 56, 58, 60, whatever you want to use, and play the ball just back, a little bit of hinge, and again, just feel like you are keeping that handle nice and high. Don't release it too much.
Okay.
Okay, just sort of keep that shaft angle in. And you can play one like that, and that's the other way of doing it. You see, that's just like a release one, but with a little bit of hinge.
In winter golf, Dan, would you say release one is basically where we're at?
Yeah, I think so.
Across the board?
Yeah, unless, I mean, the first lie was okay, as long as it's sort of not, but generally, you want to be getting that club on the ball in the winter.
Yeah.
It's just, you just don't know what the ground's going to be like, and it can just give way.
Yeah.
Just totally give way, because obviously when the ground's firmer, it can bounce, can't it? The club can work under the ball.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't want to hit too far back, but you want to be hitting just behind and let it slide, but you're not going to tend to get the slide when you're playing out of mud. You know, it just tends to want to stop too much. So that's what I would do
I think
there.
I should try that one.
Try that one, yeah.
Yeah.
What loft are you going to go with? I'll give you a muddy lie. There we go.
Yeah, pretty nasty that. I've got my 54.
Okay.
So.
And again, the beauty is you don't need to hit it that high generally in winter, because the greens are soft.
Yeah.
So I would say mine was a medium flight.
Okay.
And it stopped short of the hole.
Yeah.
If I'd have played that same flight in the middle of July, that ball would have gone about 20 feet past the hole. So I would have had to go higher.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean about the IQ of understanding, well, I don't really want to go in low here, but the green's soft, so I can.
Yeah, and that I guess is an advantage of winter golf, and I'm really trying to see the sunny side here, is that because the ground is so soft on the green, you can be a little bit more aggressive and you can kind of take things on a little bit.
Yeah, a bit more aggressive when you land it. So to the back in the stance, a little bit of forward lean. But the key here is just keep the handle high. And that's good. Came out a little bit lower, but that was pretty good. You're probably a little bit heavy there, wasn't it? But we'd take that from that lie.
Yeah, again, I've got a chance.
Yeah,
that's
totally
what I'm looking for.
Have you got a 50? What do you got? 58?
I've got a 60.
60. Should we just do 60?
My current wedge setup is 50, 52, 60. I don't love the 50, I'd prefer it to be a 52. And so I'm going to change to a 52, and that allows me to go to a 56, which is a brilliant club.
56 is a great club. The 54, I get why people do it, because they want like the perfect gap in for full wedge shots.
Yeah.
So they get 50, 54, 58 generally.
Yeah.
And that works, and some of you, that works fine, don't change it. But the 54, for me, it's a bit weak as a gap and it's a bit strong as a sand wedge.
Yeah.
Like 56 is the sand wedge, like it's kind of always been 56.
Yeah.
And I think you can just play more shots with that.
That's it. I went to see recently on our channel, if you haven't seen the video, then please go and watch it, an interview with Bob Vokey, master wedge craftsman, and he said that his dream setup is 52, 56, 60.
Oh, okay, wow,
So,
I haven't seen that, brilliant.
yeah, you should take a look at that, Dan.
Yeah, he came here a few years ago, it's great to meet him.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend.
So we've got a bit more loft, so I'd play it the same way. Okay, so you go with a little bit of hinge in the back so you can keep the handle up through the ball. There we go, it went down. So you can see here, that's good, I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
Can you see how this divot has got deeper?
Yeah.
Okay, so the soft ground is beating you there. You've really got to get high with that handle through it.
So this wedge, what Dan's referring to there, is it's kind of designed for links golf. So the complete opposite of this. It's for shallow angle of attack, you know, really firm surfaces.
So you played that lovely. Look how you've come up through the shot. You kept turning, shoulders come up, handle stayed nice and high. Kept the club out the ground really well there.
I had to consciously really do that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of this feeling of, it's almost like my sternum's keeping its height.
Yeah.
I'm not letting that part of my body dip, but the butt of the club's guiding me there.
Great. That's a good feeling. That's your instinct. That's fantastic. So of the two shots then, what would you do now if we faced with exactly this shot?
Hybrid all day
There we
long.
go, yeah.
That is an outstanding little shot.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you've introduced me to that.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, good. And I think there's people at home, give it a go. Don't be afraid. You just need a bit of practice.
Yeah.
And you soon get the feel.
Especially if I was standing off the 18th green with a one-shot lead.
Yeah.
On my dad or something, you know, like a real high pressure moment. I would be like getting that hybrid.
Any more high pressure than that.
Exactly.
Right. Should we just hit a few into like longer, like further down the green, talk
Yeah.
about club selections? I think
That'd
that's
be
another
great.
big point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so for example, not this near pin, well, we can talk about that. It's more that back pin, which is quite an interesting one, because you see this bank that's coming off the bunker and it kind of goes up.
Yeah.
And then feeds down. This is what I see the most. It would be a golfer who's not got a particularly versatile short game or doesn't really have the sort of the golfing IQ to consider this sort of thing, is they'll play, you know, quite a nice shot technically, so something like that.
Yeah.
Which is totally thin but gone in the hole. Let's try that again.
It's gone to 2 feet.
Try that again. So it's more like that.
Yeah.
Can you see it just spins up too much?
Yeah.
Firstly, by the way, the reason I thinned that first one is the lie was just totally wrong for this sort of shot.
Right.
So I was making sure I was staying out the ground too much, and that goes back to what we talked about earlier, is so many times I think the mind reacts to the lie and the player starts to get fearful of it. So that second shot there, which had too much spin, is a shot I see all the time. It's just totally the wrong shot. Now, really for that pin, a sensible shot would be something like a 7-iron.
Yeah.
We know it's not going to spin, so we don't have to worry about the wet upslope. We can just hit it in there round about a quarter of the way, normal chip and run style, and you can just see the ball speed there. It's just going to keep running and running out there.
Perfect.
Oh, is it going to go in?
Get in the hole. Oh, what a shot.
But look, again, I could do that 10 times out of 10 with this club.
Yeah.
And you can see with the 56, okay, I got lucky with the first one, but the second one, you know, that's 3-putt territory.
Totally.
And that's how people start racking scores up. So just on these soft greens, just really easy, quick win, just loft down, go to a stronger loft, and then you can just get less spin and run it out.
Yeah.
Is that something you consider and do? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think, you know, something with this shot is, thank you. A lot of people might think that the 7-iron chip and run is exclusively for links golf, and what's interesting is at Woburn here, we're very much inland. This is, you know, this is a woodland area where the ground is really soft, and it's still a shot that you can play on inland courses, and that's something I've had to adjust my mind to, because I'd go for this shot every day of the week when I'm back home. Round St Andrews, round the links courses there. You're trying to keep the ball low all the time. You want it to be running as quickly as you can a lot of the time, because you've got big greens, big spaces to work with. But when you come in land, you think, oh, I just got to be higher, and everything's got to be higher, and it's just not the case.
Yeah, exactly. And I think mentally as well, we can trick ourselves, because we can look at this and mentally think quite a lot of downslope there, and you're not really thinking about all of the rain we've had over the last week, which has just made it so soft. So as a golfer, you've got to switch on to it. You've got to think, how much rain have we had? Obviously, if we were in July in the middle of a drought, then you'd need more loft here, because you'd need to spin to hold the green. And that's what I mean about just developing the mindset all the time. So let's see a 7-iron. Let's go. You got it inside mine then. Here we go.
Oh, that's a big challenge, but all right. There's not left to right on that.
Quarter of the way, chip and run. Played it lovely. Don't hit that ball. Played it so well. And again, just no spin on the ball, and it's run out there about 3 or 4 feet from the hole. I mean,
not bad.
How easy is that?
So easy.
You know, and you can see how easy short game can be if you switch on.
Yeah, it's so much of it is about the decision, but to make the right decision, you have to understand what are the principles, what are the non-negotiables, and that's hopefully what this video is helping you to decipher. The lie, what are my options, what am I facing ahead of me? Sometimes you might face, you know, a big hill in front of you. Sometimes it might just be a clear runway like we've got here, and it's trying to understand, well, let's make this as simple as possible and then execute the shot and give ourselves a chance of that putt.
Yeah, totally.
Whether the putt's for bogey, birdie, double bogey, doesn't matter. We're trying to get there as quickly as we can.
Shoot your lowest score, aren't you? That's all we've got to do this game. Shoot. It gets very simple, very complicated at times, but keep it simple. Shoot your lowest score. Right, should we make it a bit more interesting though? Should we go to some rough?
Yeah, let's do that.
Wet rough isn't nice for a lot of golfers.
No,
head there.
It can be nasty.
Right, we're in the rough. Just realised there's an old pine tree here, but we won't play off there. But we got some really soft, muddy lies with a bit of tangly rough around it. Again, this is so easy for the golfer just to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. So a few tricks you can do here. You can play it back in a stance with a lot of hinge and just try and jam the back of the ball. But again, you've got the risk. You've got the risk there. I managed to get it quite nicely there, but it comes out a little bit hot. So that's one way of doing it. Just hinge it and get the back of the ball. But for these lies that are tricky, this is a 56 by the way, yeah. This is a really nice way of doing it, is where you put the toe low and get the handle
I remember
really
this
high.
one
And
from back in the day.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, well, let's see if you can remember it. But this is going to be
I don't remember the keys, but just for the viewers here who haven't watched the previous videos we've made with Dan, which you should watch, by the way, because we cover pitching and some other really important parts of the short game. Dan and I used to work together many, many years ago when I was playing golf full time and, you know, turning professional. We worked together.
It's probably 12 years ago.
It was 12 years ago, so I knew about the magician here before everyone else did. But we spoke about this shot. I kind of remember some of the key things, and it has got me out of jail so many times. Listen closely, folks. This is a bit of gold.
Well, it's just because obviously wedges are designed in a way that they have camber on, so you can see how the toe is shaved off here. It's rounded in the toe, and you can use that to your advantage when you've got lies like this, so it's not going to interfere too much with the rough, so you can work it out and across and almost scythe it. And you want to hit it, you're aiming to hit it kind of just behind the ball. I mean, I think intention and reality are different things. The intention is to hit it just behind it, and then it can just slide across and pop it out. So let's give that a go. So I'm aiming quite a long way to the side. I'm probably aiming, what, I don't know, 30, 40 degrees left there. Faces a little bit right of the hole, and then we go out and across. And you can see from that lie, if you had to hit it high, that's how you do it. And you can see the divot has just worked across there, but I just felt there, and you can almost see in the divot how it's angled this way.
Yeah.
That the toe has entered and just slid. And really this part of the wedge is really the slidey part, and this is kind of a diggy part.
Right.
So I would really try and keep the heel out of play for these awkward lies. When you've got those cushions behind it, and it's out. And this works well in the summer as well, by the way, but I think in winter you're trying to avoid the dig, and this technique would definitely help you. there.
It can sometimes work, if I remember correctly, off a bare lie.
Yeah, exactly. Totally hard pan lie, brilliant as well.
Yeah.
We get that a lot of woven, you know, amongst the pine trees sometimes, and
That's right.
It's rock solid, and you can just work the toe again because you've got that camber on this part of the club, and it can work underneath it really easily. So I've given you the same sort of lie. It's not easy. It's wet, bit of a clump behind it.
Yeah. Just before I step in to do it, Dan, a question I get quite a lot asked by golfers I play with that are looking for helps and tips is they sometimes can get in a bit of a tangle about what to think about in the backswing, and they're wondering, you know, do I think about how much I'm hinging my wrists, or am I thinking about turning my chest? What is it that you think about? Because you make that look so natural just the way, because there's quite a lot of hinge there, quite a long backswing for such a short shot.
Yeah.
What is it, you know, you would tell and advice you have for the viewers and golfers out there who don't quite know what to do with their head in this bit?
Okay. So in head position?
No, how
they're thinking.
Yeah, as in how they're thinking.
Right. So
with
I think obviously it depends on the intention of the shot. So if I was trying to hit a lower shot, this is really simple stuff. You know, really kind of like the easiest way to think about this. If you're trying to hit a low shot, feel like the club face stays looking at the ball. You kind of more or less, and you can see how the club then stays low to the ground here, and you get that nice extension of the arm with the shaft there. So the club's on a really good angle going back for a low shot. If I want to hit it up in the air a little bit more, then I really want to get the club setting more this way, because this hinge here allows the club then to swing down and keep the loft on and then pop it up. So really the intention of the shot, whether it's low, keep the club low, or if you want to hit it high, get the club working high. But regardless of whether you want to hit low or high, you've got to make sure your engine, your chest here, has rotation in it. So, you know, if you kind of chop my arms off, for example, and you ask me to hit a shot, you know, I'm going to move this manner. You wouldn't know what shot I'm trying to play. You're just in my body turning, but the variable is what I'm doing my wrist in terms of where I'm going to keep it down or where I'm going to get it up. Does that make sense? Right? Yeah. So it's really how you work your wrist hinge in relation to how you're working your chest.
That's great. I hope
all right.
that's helpful for
but this one here, yeah, you want a little bit of hinge because you're trying it in the air, but the big thing is just opening the club down, working the toe across, and just don't be afraid to hit before it, and let the toe just slip underneath it.
Right, I've got my 54.
Open it a little bit, 54, open it, that's it, across the ball. Very good.
Nice.
How easy is that work through that lie?
Came out so, beautifully.
Yeah. And that's 54, by the way. So, you know, again, it might be human nature to grab the most lofted club like a 60 here, but if you open that 54 up and you're working across it, it's just going to come out better than a 60, where again, you just got to be so precise with how you're delivering that.
I think a lot of people maybe wonder how, you know, to get that effortless height, a lot of that is coming from this direction.
Yeah, that side action working out and across it.
If you try and play this shot in a straight line, like straight back and through, it's not going to have the height that you want.
Yeah, totally. Open it up. We've got a bit of a divot behind it now. There we go.
This is nasty.
Oh, that is so good. So there really is no such thing as a bad lie. Okay, you've got to just look at it and just think and then adjust. But that is a great option. Yeah. The other one we did, wasn't it? The first one where I said just got to sort of jam it in behind it. This is an option as well. So play this one slightly wider stance, play it back in the stance towards that right foot. Lots of shaft lean, hinge, and you're just trying to put it into the back of the ball. Okay. So it's a little bit of sort of a hack, if you like, into this one. Yeah, not much follow through here. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice way of doing it as well. Obviously, it's going to go low and run a bit more, isn't it?
That's a lovely little shot.
That's probably the shot you would use if you had a medium lie, like it was down a bit.
Like that.
And you actually had that pin. Yeah. The higher one, just so people understand, is a shot you would play that perhaps there might be a bunker here or the rough extends a little bit further. Yeah. So again, like we said earlier, get it on the green early if you can.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Bunkers.
Awesome. Yeah. That was such a good lesson. I really hope that you've taken time to watch all the little bit of gold in that shot from Dan, because it's hard to quantify how valuable that shot is just when you get yourself out of position in some tricky lies around the golf course. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, and listen, it works great in summer. You know, it just nestles down in the rough a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can be anywhere in the world and you get that. It's great out Bermuda grass and, you know, more sort of exotic grass as well in America, where you can just slide across.
The Pasfallen.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. And also off that hard pan, if you find yourself just on a bare lie, it's amazing how it pops up.
Yeah, super versatile.
More on that. We'll do more on that shot in the future. But for now, let's head to the bunker.
Yeah, here we go. Wet sand.
Another aspect of the short game that can be really tough during the winter months is the bunker, because you can get loads of moisture in here and you can feel like the sand becomes really compact with all the rain. I mean, it has not stopped raining in London for about 4 days. This is like the first time it stopped. So, you know, you can get these really difficult bunkers that just feel so tough to play out of, Dan, and we need some help.
Yeah.
Help.
Right, okay. So like a lot of it we've talked about today really is like the IQ side of it, like actually looking at things. Now, really you get bunkers with a nice depth of sand, like there's plenty of it, and it's just heavy, it's just wet.
Yep.
So that's one type of shot we need to play. And then you get the other lie where the rain has sort of compacted the sand and it's got really firm, right? And you've got to understand they're slightly different shots. So I talk about all the time in my bunker coaching, you've got to look at the line. You're either going to splash or you're going to squeeze, right? So basically you're changing how that arc comes in. You're either going to get it just working nice and level, and that you do that if there's lots of sand, so the sand then can work under the ball and explode the ball out. If the ball is more down, it's on more compact sand, then if you try and do that, it's going to hit, kick, and deflect, and then you get that thin shot. So you have to then, on the one that's more down, you need to squeeze down. So you splash or you squeeze.
Right.
Now, for this lie here, I think there's a decent amount of sand, so we can splash that.
Okay.
Okay. But if we had this lie here, okay, that's compact that. So if I tried to splash that, there's a good chance it would kick.
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So the wedge will kick off the sand.
Yeah, that's right, because we've got an angle of attack, obviously. So as it's attacking the sand, what we're trying to do, if it's nice soft sand, we want that arc to be even. We need it to come down and back out on a very even arc. But from that lie there, if we did the same arc, it's going to land and it's going to kick. All right, and that's what people don't really understand. So, you know, from that lie there, we can play it. Now, when the sand is wet and there's a decent amount, you really just need to hit it a little bit harder. Okay. You just got to feel like you keep some speed in it, because
there's just more resistance. There.
Exactly, there's more friction. It's going to stop the club working through. If it's very light sand in the summer, then it's going to work through quicker, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll just hit a couple. So obviously we get the setup basics right, which we've spoken about in terms of like getting a nice lower body platform forward. I'm going to tilt the right shoulder a little bit lower here because there's a little bit more sand, and that's going to help me then come in nice and shallow with that even arc, as I said. But I'm just going to increase my chest speed a little bit more because I know you see that really slowed down through there, and that's probably going to end up pretty close. But you can feel how heavy that contact was.
Yeah.
So really, just the key here is just keeping that when there's nice amount of sand and there's lots of it, and it's wet because of the rain. Just keep the speed. It's very important you lay that bounce in. The bounce will help it work through the sand. So what I mean by that is the club is released in this way, but keep the chest moving at the same time. Nice. But you do have to hit it hard. I wouldn't hit it that hard in the summer. Yeah. Okay, so that's the important thing. So, I know you can do that. I think the biggest challenge is this type of lie here, where I'll just get rid of a little bit more, where it's. Can you hear that? Yeah. Okay. And just to demonstrate, I'm just going to play the same technique that I just played on those couple. And you see what's happened? It's kicked. Yeah, so I think a lot of golfers do that, and it wasn't really them, it was the lie that caused it. It was them mentally not reading it really was the problem. So, same lie, we need to now squeeze. So we need to get the angle of attack working more downward with less release. So we've got to hit down more. We've got to keep the handle lower this time to squeeze it, okay? Yeah. I would go to the 60 for this type of lie because we're leaning the shaft forward at address. So let's start with a bit more to begin with, and then it's, it comes out a little lower. And
totally different shot.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more of a diggier one, yeah? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Having not reading that lie. A lot of amateur golfers like to play that diggy shot in the bunker, and it's very rarely a shot you should play because we're trying to get a nice height, use the sand, work the sand to get height on the ball. But The good news is in the winter you can finally play the diggy
Yeah,
shot.
because most people play the diggy one when there's lots of sand, and that's why it just keeps, doesn't get out of the bunker. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. If you've got poor technique, it should be pretty good from this lie. Right, okay. So wide stance, ball back, sort of centre really, so you get your sternum in front of the ball.
Yeah, this is so funny because this is genuinely how I think a lot of amateurs, a lot of beginners play shots out the bunker. They set up to it like they're going to play a low piercing 7-iron, looks like it's going to come out like that, which isn't what we want really, but for this shot,
for this lie, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not keeping that blade square, or
no, well you can do actually, but I think depends on the level of golf, right? To have it squarer makes sense, it takes a bit more bounce off, but because we are leaning it forward, I would offset it with a little bit of opening the snap, particularly with the size of a lip we've still got out in front of us.
It's pretty punchy.
But just get a little bit more that way.
Okay.
And the key here is making sure this time the handle wants to almost feel like it is going lower.
Right.
Okay. We do need to squeeze and go down now, not like we did early on the chipping. Played that really well. Yeah. You played that superbly well. And if you look at this, you're coming close here. Look, that was actually, give that a tap there. That's actually, you're down to the liner of the bunker there. And that, but you wouldn't have known it because you just came down so nicely into that.
Yeah.
And that had spin. I mean, that was a great shot.
Just popped up
from that lie. Fantastic. But if I give you a fluffier lie but heavy sand, which we got now.
Yeah.
And if you do it the same way, you'd really struggle. There's a good chance it would barely get out. So, now we've got to change the release and we've got to increase the chest speed a bit more.
And this is the sort of stock bunker shot that you must learn. You gotta get this in your armour if you want to be a skilled player with half a short game. It's just always going to be a good shot to have. So
you've moved the ball forward. This time you've got the shaft neutral with no lean. Yeah. Because we know that takes the loft and bounce off. And now you're elite. You're laying the club down now, but you're going to keep your chest moving, okay? And you hear the difference. I mean, so that arc there, like I said right at the beginning, the arc there was very level, came in that way, and the first shot you hit was going down that way. Yeah. So you've managed the arc depth for the lie that you've got. So it all begins by reading the lie, and then you think about how you change the arc depth. Well, I need to set up more this way, or I need to set up more this way, or I need to finish more here, or more down, you see? Yeah, yeah. But it all begins with that, reading the lie first.
That's why they say golf is a thinking game, and it really is. You've got to think before you pull the club out and then execute the shot. We've covered quite a lot today, Dan. It's been, as always, an absolute treat to have your time.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
No, pleasure.
Really hope this video's helped you and will help you in the coming months as we wait for spring to arrive. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. It's totally free and it allows us to continue making videos like this one for you. Thank you. See you next time around.